Perspective Shift is brought to you by fdailycoaching.com. If you're seeking assistance to help navigate you through a difficult time or feel challenged to reach your full potential, Frank Daly can guide you to a perspective that will allow you to utilize your imagination and experience a more fulfilling and satisfying life. Frank has been working with people for over 20 years as a coach, helping them understand the power they have to transform their lives.
All right, Morgan, Lulu, welcome to Perspective Shift.
How are we doing, Morgan?
How's it going?
What's up? Whoop whoop. I made it. I made the
Great to
big
meet
time.
Yeah.
We're excited to have you on today, Morgan.
Yeah.
Oh, I am just as excited. This is so great. Thank you so much.
Where are you tuning in from?
I am tuning in from snowy Park City, Utah, where we're getting dumped on, record winter.
Wow.
We have surpassed the largest snow accumulation since human recorded history.
Oh
So-
my gosh. Seriously,
Yeah.
that much?
Yeah,
Ugh. Hey,
it's insane.
I was going to say,
Since the Dama party went through that area, they got
That's
stuck
awesome.
in the snow.
I very excited to have you on today. So for our listeners out there, we want to let them know a little bit about your backgrounds. I wrote down a few notes. So Morgan Lulu is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a past life regression specialist, a Hypnofit practitioner, and a level 2 quantum healing hypnosis technique therapist, if you will. Let's kind of leave it there. Does that all sound right, Morgan?
Practitioner.
Practitioner.
Totally.
Thank you.
She's got a lot of awards on her wall.
Yeah, seriously. We're
Oh,
honored to have you on
Yeah,
today.
we are. Yeah. So tell us, just tell us how you got started in this.
Yes.
Like, when did this
Ugh,
spark hit?
very beginning.
All
Yeah,
right.
bring us back.
Ready to
Okay,
start?
so I think everyone's gonna really love this story.
All right. sweet.
But prior to meeting Frank, I was basically shown to my mom in a dream 3 days before I was born, and my name was Brittany Ann.
Okay.
That's the name that they had given me. Well, I came to her in this dream, and I was about 3 years old, and I said, "Mom, my name is Morgan Mary." And she woke up and she's like, "Howard, her name's Morgan." And he's like, "Cool, whatever. Sweet." So I like to start off with that as my intro because I came here purposely.
I believe we all did.
Yeah. But
Totally, I agree.
You got to name her. We were actually talking about that earlier, but she got to name herself.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. She put the
Came
thought
in.
her mom's head. Yeah.
Totally.
That is so cool.
But I've always been interested in all things metaphysical, the unseen, energies. I, would summon the winds in the front yard and, always had a black cat and definitely very empathic, intuitive. Wasn't always the most proper thing in a Catholic household. So that created a few arguments every now and again. And then we've come full circle ever since. So I love that.
They tried
and
to
I've
perform
always,
exorcism on you.
Any exorcism?
luckily, I did not have to deal with that.
Frank and I both grew up in Catholic background, so you're in good
Yeah.
company. We had that same Catholic guilt conditioning.
Yeah, I had exorcism.
Oof.
Yeah. Frank. But yeah,
It's tough to shake.
It really is. The whole Catholic guilt shame thing. That's a
Yeah.
true thing, man.
I never bought
Mhm.
into it.
I did.
I pretended
Growing
to
up,
buy
I was
into
like,
it. I'm like,
"Geez."
yeah, I'm like, whatever. If God wants me, he'll take me.
So you grew up in a
during my
Catholic household?
first confession with Father Steve, I think it was, he actually had to stop me, and he's like, "Morgan, did you write down every sin you could think of that you've committed?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, I want to get them all in there so I can get rid of all of them." He's like, "You don't have to actually, we'll just kind of wrap it up. We'll call it
Yeah.
50 Hail
2 hours.
Marys."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're 2 hours in.
I was like,
later.
"Oh, I didn't even have to get to the hardcore stuff."
Yeah, right.
as
I
a
lied on my
15-year-old.
first confession.
That's so funny, Frank,
I
that you
just
say
made
that.
shit up.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's a real
I'm gonna-
thing. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
I remember going in and being like, I
Oh
felt
my
guilty
gosh.
coming out because I was like, dude, I didn't even tell
Well,
him the real stuff.
that's the thing is I didn't feel guilty, but I'm not because like I was like, what have you sinned? I'm like, I cursed. What curse words you use? I'm like, damn, I wasn't gonna say fuck to a fucking priest.
A priest.
So I'm like, I lied about that. I'm like, I could give a shit. I'm not gonna open up to this guy.
Oh, that's so funny. So no metaphysical background from the parents then, huh? On your
Not that I had known about then.
Okay.
Things changed once I got older. So I found out that my grandma Glenda on my mom's side, after she had passed, was very intuitive, very empathic, totally into Edgar Casey.
Nice.
President of the gardening club, but she was basically the kind of like the leader for my grandfather, who was a state legislator in Arizona.
Oh, cool.
So she was like the woman behind this, powerful politician, but totally into all of this stuff that I'm into.
Yeah.
And would take my mom around to, psychics and mediums. And I didn't know any of this until after she passed. But my mom is very intuitive, super empathic, kind of scary.
Right?
It's not a great thing when your mom kind of knows, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally.
The eyes in the back of my head is actually a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah,
Like,
truly.
how did you know that? Actually, your mom, like every time her mom would come in.
Well, look, but back this up real quick. Let's tell everybody
Okay.
so how did you guys meet? And it starts with her mom,
Totally.
correct, Frank?
Yeah. So
Totally.
Yeah, you tell the story.
Okay. So this one beautiful fated day, my mom found the lovely Frank as her new hairstylist, and our lives have forever been changed. And she would come home. I remember the very first time she came home from getting her hairdo did, is what she would say. And she was just glowing. Of course, her hair looked incredible. If you go to see Frank, if you're not blown up, you should totally be blown up by now.
Right.
She looked gorgeous and was glowing and said, I had the most amazing time. Frank is so cool. We talked about everything. And I would get to hear these stories about the conversations that you two were having. And I'm like, I got to get in there.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Frank also.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, because it would one day, every time your mom came in, even before she sat in the chair, we started laughing. We didn't say a word. We just started laughing. And the whole time she was there, we just kept laughing. And I'll never forget, she's the reason I came up with the idea years ago to do a podcast, because she's like, why don't we record this? Like when she comes in.
Yeah.
And I told her, like, if we record this, she'll be like looking at like, how's your day going? now we got this camera going. But I remember her putting that in the back of my mind. I'm like, you know what? I like talking about this stuff, and wherever it led to. But it actually led to me and Mike doing this podcast. The seed was planted almost one day. Me and your mom were talking.
That's so cool. I didn't know that. That was her mom.
What else?
So cool.
This is funny too. Me and your mom were talking one day, and we were talking about phrases, and I came up like, "Who knew?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I says, "I'm gonna make that a T-shirt." And then we started coming up with all these names. Well, the next time your mom came in, I literally had a T-shirt on that said, "Who knew?"
I bet she loved that.
I had it made just for that. Like,
That's awesome.
like, who knew?
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, one other cool thing too, Morgan, that Frank shared with me is you were the first person to do a past life regression with Frank. Frank's first experience with anything like that was with you. And so I was excited to talk about that on this episode as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's get into the past life regression, because I don't know if that's your first and foremost love, but I know you've been working with that for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Definitely.
explain that to anyone that's listening right now that isn't familiar with it.
Definitely. So I actually came across past life regression work years and years ago. I'm sure I was maybe like 13 years old when I came across it for the first time. And then, of course, through Buddhism, philosophy, of course, reincarnation. So, I had the foundations. I got it. But it wasn't until I saw an interview with Carol Bowman, who wrote a really cool book called Children's Past Lives. And it's about children remembering their past lives and having these kind of spontaneous regressions to the point where they were describing uniforms and drawing maps of where they lived and talking about their best friend and how they died. And, these miraculous stories of overcoming like eczema and fear of loud sounds. And it was just also wondrous to the point where I was like, come on. I need a little bit more. I need more here. And so totally. And after doing some research, there's thousands upon thousands of documented cases where actual private investigators have gone into these like children's lives and kind of like set them up in order for them to say like, hi, I'm your husband. And they're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. So like kind of proving all of these things. I mean, murders were solved, mysteries were solved, things were found. Little 5-year-olds are saying, now go under the bed. There's a loose floorboard there. And there's a note for my son. Please make sure he gets it. I mean, bizarre.
I love that so much. And I know what you're talking about because I've researched this heavily too myself because it's so fascinating. It is the coolest thing.
It's so cool.
Yep.
It's so cool.
There was a documentary where it's well known, and it had a different type of stories on it. But one of them was about a young boy that was a pilot in World War II, and he actually met his partner, and the guy, and when they finally got together, this is documented. It was on TV, and I forgot the name of it, but because it led up to this point where this kid would have nightmares and finally came in. But then he had these stories and they were starting to verify him. Well, the guy that knew him was still alive.
Oh, God.
And when they met, he was telling him stuff that nobody else could have told this kid.
See, stuff like that.
So it was very difficult to just throw to the side and say, this is lucky.
Coincidence.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Totally.
Not to be fast. So now people are more well documenting this now. Now it's not like something you heard about.
And there's doctors that have made this like their practice, where they specifically focus on this, past life regression material, what's happened. It's becoming more and more, a recognized thing, not just, oh, this happens to be coincidence. There is the facts to back it up, like Morgan's saying.
I agree. I think we're coming to a point where science and spirituality are, overlapping, and we're seeing benefits on both sides, and there's no other way to explain it except for them both being, a part of it. This consciousness, this energy that resides through all of us throughout the universe. It's just, and we can't even document all that. Like, we don't know what dark matter is. We don't know what's, at the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. We don't know where memories are actually stored.
Yeah.
Like out here, maybe I'm thinking,
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's speculation.
So there's just so much.
But they keep finding, but everything is energy now, and everyone knows that. There is no actual.
Just so fun.
It's vibrating frequency at different rates and variables. Yeah.
When I was doing some research on you, Morgan, one of the things that I was listening to a podcast that you had done, and you had mentioned something about like you personally had done like 75 past life regressions on individuals before you did your own past life regression. Is that true?
Totally.
Tell us a little bit about that, because that's super cool. I mean, so you dove head first in. You're doing these regressions with people, but you had not ever done any past life regressions yourself. And I thought that was I was like, that's cool. I want to ask her about that.
Yeah.
It shifted everything from there on out. Just to back up a little bit, after researching and coming across all this material of these documented stories, I came across Dolores Cannon's work, she is just so wonderful. She's written all of these books, and all of the material in these books are channeled material from her past life regression sessions with individuals, talking about the history of the universe, channeling materials through Jesus, or, life on other planets, the different waves of volunteers that have come to Earth. And the material is just fascinating. So everybody listening, go on YouTube and just spend a whole day, watch them all. She's like the grandmother that you wish you had.
Well, Frank and I, we've covered Dolores on this show.
Good.
We love Dolores Cannon and her work. I believe you met with her daughter, right?
Yes. So I trained under Julia in person for the level 2 training out of 3. Okay. And Dolores was very much still involved, where Julia was channeling Dolores all the time. And Julia's a really silly gal. She loves to dance, and she's a nurse. So she comes from a medical perspective, very different from Dolores's. And she would be like, she'd break out into dance moves and stop and go, "Of course, Mom, I'm going to talk about that in a minute." Go back to dancing.
The other side. Funny. Get your act together, kid.
I've heard her talk about that before. I've watched her daughter speak, and she talks about how her mom can accomplish more on the other side than she could ever do, in this 3-dimensional, plane.
Yeah,
totally. And we see it. We can feel it. I mean, the amount of people that know about QHHT is just phenomenal. And so once I was just like electrified, and I went to Frank, I got my hair done, and Frank's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I got to tell you all about this." Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. I told him all this cool stuff. And I think I'm thinking about like taking a teacher training. I think I want to learn this modality. And Frank stops and he's like, "I just felt electricity through my entire body. You have to do this."
I love it.
And I did not have one single doubt after Frank said that.
Turned out it was short in my blow dryer.
Well, it worked.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, here I am. No. And so it turns out that Frank, by chance, happened to be my very first past life regression experience.
How cool is that? Oh, that's awesome.
Well,
how many have you done now? Sorry.
No.
Almost 300.
See, wow. That's awesome.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
So this is interesting because this, like, I went in very open to doing this past life regression with her, and never done anything like this before. Obviously been meditating and stuff like that. But after she did the past life, you took me to 2 lives, and one of them, I don't know if you probably don't remember, but one of them.
Oh, I remember.
I remember I was in the Khan Valley, kind of a horseman, the reference of like Genghis Khan, but I was no one well known. And after that, I don't know if you remember me telling you a dream I had prior to this. Mm-hmm. And my whole life, when I was a young boy till my son was about 5 years old when I had this dream, I was being chased, and I was running from someone that had a knife or a gun. And every time I got shot or stabbed to where it was somewhat fatal, I wake up. So I always died. I died multiple times. It seems like from violence. Then one day I had this dream that I was, it was during the Khan period. I was in the Khan Valley, and I was being chased by an army and 2 other guys with me. And I was peered in the front, and there was triangulation, and they were on 2 sides of me. And when I turned around, there was probably like 200 other horsemen coming quickly behind us. And we came up upon a mesa. There was nowhere to go. So I bow-faced, placed my horse in the mid. It was in the middle, a little further than the other 2. And I dismounted, and I walked up, and whoever the leader was from the other side dismounted. And we came up. I got on my knees, and he pulled out a sword and then struck. I didn't feel anything. But then the next thing you know, I got back on my horse, and me and the other 2 riders went in, and the army just split like a sea, like the Red Sea. And then we continued on. Well, since that day, I never had a dream like that ever again. Like I never died again in my dream or woke up from it.
Oh my gosh.
But then fast forward, when she did my past life regression, I was back in that period. Now, my death didn't happen in the past life. It was just, I was witnessing things. So it was really was really fascinating, the correlation and the connection to it, because before that I'm like, well, that was weird, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to add that story because she opened that story up for me to make a little more sense of it.
I think that's so awesome.
Yeah. So yeah.
That was a really,
And how long ago
really
was this?
powerful session.
8, 7, 9.
How many? Well, how many years ago? Did
Yeah.
you start doing this?
It had to have been, I've been doing it for 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 8
years
it's been
ago.
a while now.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
It seems like it should have been even further than that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. We're gonna have to do some math. I'm not very good at math.
Yeah.
But still, you and Frank have known each other for quite some time, which is awesome. We're honored to have you here.
Yeah.
I wish I still lived in Arizona sometimes, because I haven't seen Frank in so many years.
Yeah, but now we're seeing.
And I wish I could meet you in person too.
I know,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we will, I'm sure, when you come to Arizona,
We totally
Frank,
will.
we'll have to take you out to lunch.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I would love it. We
You
should go to the Conscious Living Expo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I watch that on Gaia all the
Yeah.
time. Isn't that in LA though? Isn't that
Freaking
California?
love Gaia.
Is that
Yes.
California? Yeah. I was gonna say
Yeah.
they have some great speakers at that expo.
Totally. Everybody's there.
Yeah.
So awesome.
When is that, by the way? Do you know?
I think it just
it a summer event?
happened.
Yeah, it just happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll
A few
have-
weeks ago.
Yeah, I remember seeing
Yeah.
stuff because I always get stuff from Bashar, and he's always at those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bashar.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Bashar is so cool.
So cool. But I tell Frank all the time, I'm like, Bashar's the type of guy you can't just start with Bashar. You need to start with like a Dr. Joe Dispenza or someone that can slow walk you into these concepts.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, you're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He comes in a little fierce too.
experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I just know, like me personally, as I started to learn these concepts, it was very important that I was able to analytically understand it, if you will. I was using kind of the left brain to get to, using both hemispheres, if you will, of the brain. And so it was learning different techniques of how, like neuroplasticity, what this is, how we think, how we process, more about this instrument. And then that, allowed me to begin to understand the concepts and stuff shared by, people like Bashar, who are channeling, etc. Dolores Cannon, channeling again.
Morgan.
Yep. Yeah. Morgan. Do you channel?
I'm
Morgan?
not channeling.
Do you ever-
I think we
tried?
all channel.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a
Totally
it's a
right.
form of challenge. It's different than
Yeah.
say Bashar or Abraham, but it is a form.
Just like you mentioned Dolores Cannon, if you felt her presence, you're channeling in that moment. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. I asked her to join me for all of my sessions.
Oh,
And
really?
I asked her to help me to ask the right questions.
There you go.
Nice. That
Because
is
the power is in the questions. If you don't ask the right question, the subconscious mind or the higher self is, if you ask a lame question, you're going to get a lame answer.
Yeah.
So you got to be really good at asking awesome questions. Or let's say, for the example with Frank, to be cool under whatever circumstance occurs. Do you remember right after I had led you into an induction, a jackhammer was going off outside?
Yeah.
really
A jackhammer. Like it sounded like 10 feet away.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And so I was like, well, just if you happen to hear sounds outside, just allow them to drill you further and deeper and deeper.
Jackhammer yourself into a past life.
Nice, Morgan.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah. But yeah.
That was hilarious. I'm
Yeah.
like, of course, my first time, a jackhammer.
That's so funny.
It only gets better from there then.
What's your
It
technique
really did.
to getting people in that sweet spot? Do you like to use music, beats, just your voice? How do you kind of walk people into that theta alpha state?
I kind of like using so I'll start off with kind of classic Ericksonian conversation hypnosis. So number one, you have to have rapport with your people. They have to, we've already had an amazing conversation. We've already talked about their desires and what's their challenges. And so we've already connected on a certain level already. But then when they're in front of you, the environment is clean, your energy field is clean. And you really just want to bring them into this sacred space so they feel totally nourished on every single emotional body. So I start with just conversation, and I can use slower, more quieter, calmer words. And eventually they're just like soothed and ready to go, and they feel safe and protected. And then I love to use a Tibetan singing bowl. I find that that's like sage for the mind, and it just wipes everything out. And then kind of go into a guided meditation, which is usually progressive relaxation, which you don't even need relaxation induction for hypnosis. Some psychologists would even say you don't even need induction. Mm-hmm. And that, much like what
just like driving
Erickson
a vehicle,
did.
You don't need an induction
exactly
to fall into that trance state while you're driving.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't need really an induction to be entranced by cultural hypnosis either, or these roles that have been cast upon us, or women should be this, men should be that, children should be, heard, or what is it? Seen but not
heard. Yep.
Thank you. I've rewired that one clearly.
Good.
I still believe in that one. No, I was kidding.
Morgan's face.
Well, I'm actually a child, so.
Oh, I'm like, you're like
Don't
the coolest dad in the world.
Yeah,
childlike.
Actually, my son is more mature than I. And then I'm not even making that shit up. It's true. He looks at me, he's like, "Oh my god,
that's so funny.
You're raising me." Yeah.
So that's kind of the induction process. And honestly, it really is up to the person, the soul. They have to want this. They have to believe in their own self that these changes are possible, even just by a fraction, a tiny little atom. All we need is just that little bit of them to believe in themselves, because I believe in them. Yeah. And I truly feel that, there's two of us in the room co-creating and inviting their entire spiritual team, inviting my entire spiritual team. We've got Dolores and her team. I mean, it's a packed house, and we're going for it. I always tell my clients that to quote Operation Ivy, all I know is that I don't know nothing.
Hell yeah.
Or Socrates.
Yeah, right. Whichever.
Yeah.
Ivy's awesome. I grew up in the whole punk rock scene, so that's cool.
Same. And I think hypnosis is super punk rock.
Yeah.
It is totally going against the stream.
It is.
Like, create your own hypnosis. Yeah. And I think what's happening for definitely your listeners, I'm certain, and people in my community, we're all waking up. We're all like, wait a minute, I am not disempowered at all. These are illusions.
Yep.
And life is so much more fun when you realize that you are the one that is driving the ship, even the spaceship, if you'd like.
Whatever.
Yeah, we're directing energy that's already sitting there. But right now, we're told how to direct it. That's why it seems like it's free will's taken out. It's just seemingly determined. That's why a lot of people get into this determination or free will. I'm like, well, it's actually both, but you can actually stick into the free will realm if you actually realize you can control the energy field around you. And
absolutely.
Then at that level, it is all free will, no determination. But habits create determination. So.
And that's the thing. Yeah. When we're not, realizing the habits are there. There's no awareness to the habits. We go, oh, why is this happening to me? What's going on? The outside world's affecting me. We need that level of awareness to come in, that you are, like Morgan just shared, steering the ship.
I think in the Four Noble Paths, they, right after Buddha had reached his enlightenment, his very first teaching he gave was the Four Noble Truths. And part of that teaching was the unexamined life is a life of suffering. So like you said, awareness, that's the very first step. Or Carl Jung even said, the unexamined life, those that don't examine their life, we'll call it fate. And in essence, like, they had the opportunity to create their own destiny.
Yeah. And that's us playing as background characters, you know, us
Totally.
thinking, you know, hey, whatever happens today is just happening to me. I got no role in this. You know, I'm not affecting the world outside of me. And then we start becoming a part of other people's stories who are steering the ship, you know, who are projecting this, you know, vision, if you will. And we get sucked into those and we call it real.
Well, most of the things we get sucked in, everyone is doing the same thing. No one really is in control, because truly anyone who's in control would not suck you into their reality. You know, you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
So you come across the people that really know this stuff would then teach it. But what you're getting sucked into is they're thinking they're sucking you into yours. So there's this battle of trying to get that item, battle for your mind, battle for your thoughts. And everyone's battling. And the people that battle the hardest are the most insecure. And the world's like, well, look at all they got. I'm like, yeah, that's why they're insecure. Because at any moment when that stuff disappears, they crumble with it. But the most powerful person is the one with very little outwardly worldly things, but has everything within, because doesn't need to vet for that, doesn't identify with that. Yeah, they have stuff. We all do. But that's not why we're happy.
I heard this really cool quote once, and it was like, like awakening or just, you know, spiritual enlightenment is not owning anything. It's you can own things, that's fine, sure, but it's you not allowing those possessions to own you, if you, in a sense, you know. And I thought that was really powerful. And it's not about, oh, you have to go live this life in the middle of the mountains or the Himalayas, etc., you know, where you don't have anything. It's just the possessions you do have, it's not something that you're attached to, holding on to, afraid to lose, etc. They're just assisting in the path or in the journey.
Yeah. Because you really can hold on to it, because everything's fleeting.
Yeah.
In the physical world, you know, like when you're watching a movie, oh, there goes that scene.
Yeah.
It's gone. So trying to hold on to that is like trying to hold on to water.
Tell us more about Dolores Cannon, though, because, like, so is that the method that you like to use, Morgan?
So that was definitely I'd say my foundation. So, you know, I was very Dolores Cannon to a T. I followed her script. I didn't stray from the script. And I did everything by her book. And she made it very apparent that the message that you would give to your client is that it's like a one and done deal. You experience the past life regression, and in a session, we can experience multiple lives. And then we would connect with one's higher self. And I'll get into that here in just a moment, because it's so incredible. And it really makes her modality stand out. She didn't want the practitioners, her students, to feel like they had more power than the client. And she wanted to make sure that we left them so empowered that they would never need to come back to us. And so I loved that. So we have this incredible session where you experience these past lives. We see patterns. They, of course, relate to your current life. Every single past life I've ever experienced with another person plays so beautifully into their current life. And it plays so perfectly into the theme of your podcast, perspectives, because they get the chance to see themselves with a completely different perspective through like multiple dimensions. And just that separation of the ego and the sense of self, it allows the person to kind of like with Eckhart Tolle, he wants you to become the observer, be the observer, observing the thoughts. And I feel like the clients really get an opportunity to embody what that feels like, maybe for the first time ever. And once you experience that it's more so oneness. Yeah. Then it creates this powerful doorway to connect to one's highest self, which is the part of them that is all-knowing, all-wise, all-compassionate, all-kind, all-patient. And that becomes almost like their own nervous system reset, where within them, they can be held and nurtured and can come to you for answers and trust those answers because they are only of the highest good. And everyone has access to that. Yeah. So once we do make connection with that, then I would ask questions on their behalf that they've already come with. So it's like 20 questions. And so I'll say, may I speak to Shannon's higher self? Do I have the permission to ask questions? And am I speaking with the higher self? Yes, yes, yes. And then I would ask these questions on their behalf. And it's like they switch modes, which really is an advanced mechanism, because the entire process, you're aware of your conscious mind. It's coming up for air going, what the hell is this shit? Oh my God, this is so weird. And then it'll like duck back down. And then the subconscious mind is taken over, and symbolism and emotions and visions and lifetimes. And then you hear the dog barking next door and you realize, oh yeah, I'm in Morgan's office and there's a therapy dog next door. And then the ego mind, there's no way I'm going to believe any of this shit. This is so dumb. I'm going to ask for my money back. To, oh my gosh, I'm connecting to my higher self. It's a lot. Like you'll be tired afterwards.
I love hearing you explain that. I've never heard somebody, with your background explain it like that. And that's very genuine and honest, because that is how the thinking mind comes in and out. I've experienced that in different RTT sessions, past stuff that I've worked on. You're totally right. The thinking mind kind of comes in and you're like, oh, what the hell? And you just have to kind of, it's not eliminating it. It's just not attaching to it.
Yeah. And you can feel how like dynamic the mind is when you are aware of all of these different kind of parts all connected. It's very interesting.
That's so cool.
Now, for somebody that's new coming across this, and I've had people ask me this question, like, well, finding out about your past life, what does it do to help me? And how can you speak of that? Because there are people that probably listen to the show that maybe never heard of this or very curious about it, but talking about it from where we are right now, understanding it, to getting, okay, why do I need to know my past life? How is it going to help me now? And that's really, people want help now. How would you explain that, how it helps them in this lifetime now?
This is such a great question. So, oh my gosh, it can impact your life on so many different realms. And oftentimes it will impact you differently than what you had expected it to be, always. So let's say someone comes in with relationship issues, or they're dealing with stress and anxiety, debilitating stress and anxiety, or they just lost their job, or they lost a child, or, these big challenging moments, or maybe they have just this repeating pattern that they keep doing over and over and over again, or an attachment to a place or a thing, or they keep smelling a certain thing, or they have a repeating dream of this place and time, of this person. They keep hearing a name, things like that can pop up, and there's literally no explanation for it, where they just have an affinity for a place or a time, or sometimes it's like really affecting their life right now. Let's just take the whole box of anything that could happen in a human's life. For one to experience a previous past life, you are getting that opportunity to allow the subconscious mind to almost show you a different way, show you a different view about you. And whether you believe in reincarnation or not, I don't think it matters. I really don't. Is reincarnation real? I definitely believe so. But could it just as well be the subconscious mind creating a story in order for you to process some stuck, trapped emotion and to heal from it? Absolutely. And that's happened too. I'm certain of it. But it's the subconscious mind. It's its opportunity to remove the conscious mind from the situation and present it in a totally different way that you can see answers so clearly, so clearly. Like there's no question about it. So let's say you're a father who works a lot, doesn't spend a lot of time with his kids, and he's about to go through a divorce or something. He comes to see me, maybe has a spiritual inkling, maybe read a book, heard about past life regression, and we talk about all the things that are bothering him and all of his stresses and all of his anxieties and all of this stuff. He might experience a past life where he did something like that already, only he was a master painter. And at his soul level, he was this master painter, but society told him that he could never paint and he would never become anything as a painter. And so he squandered that opportunity, only to have his last thought be, wow, I will never allow outside influences to impact my soul's calling. Whereas maybe that father has the soul calling to be a good father, but society maybe has told him that having, a Lamborghini for his 18th birthday is more important. Mm-hmm. So something like that. I just totally pulled that out. But
no, I see what
like very, very symbolic, very that's how the subconscious mind works. It works with symbolism, it works with metaphors, it works with emotion. So that's what we're tapping into, and it can show us that same emotion or that same symbolism in a totally different way. So you're looking at maybe something that is impacting your life in a huge way, but it doesn't have all the same players connected to it. And you're able to just like wipe the slate clean and see it fresh for the first time and go, oh, I get it. Mm-hmm. And once you get it, ignorance is bliss. Yeah. And it's coming out of your mouth, not mine. That's why I record all my sessions. Like, I didn't say this, you did, bud.
See, one of the things that we love to talk about here on this show, and you kind of just touched on it briefly, is these different modalities, right? They're all pointing us back to the same thing, which is, hey, remember who you are, remember what you are, and when you were mentioning, past lives, great, you experience that. Let's put you under, your experiences, past life or not, what's coming through you is something, there's something there, and there's something there for you to learn from. And so one thing Frank and I like to talk about a lot on this show is it's not this one modality that's going to save your life. I'm not going to do this, and then all of a sudden it's all these different things are here to point us back to ourselves and teach us, hey, the answer is within us. And so whatever you're looking for, you may find through past life regression, or you may find through rapid transformational therapy, or whatever, these different things. But that's not the end all be all. And we live in this weird Western culture world where we're taught like, oh, this worked for me, this is the best thing out there, etc. You have to do it. And that just might not be the best modality for a certain individual or whatnot. And so we kind of like to connect the dots here on Perspective Shift and show people there's different your modality can be, we were talking about this morning, going out into the garden, picking up that paintbrush and beginning to paint. It's just about being able to access that 0 point, where the thinking mind essentially melts away.
Yeah, and I think that's
kind flow state.
Yeah,
flow state. Perfect.
And everyone I run into, they'll ask me, what should I do? Obviously, I've had this question asked me a lot. And I'm like, well, what do you feel like doing? Well, I want to do this, but I don't know if it's the best. I'm like, the fact that you want to do it means it's the best at the moment in which you're in. So our subconscious, whether you even know you have one, is always forever working for you. So it's weird when and I don't even know what's going on in their heads. And I give them permission to go do it, and they do it. And I'm like, always give yourself permission. Yeah. It's just, but I don't know anything different. I'm like, I don't know what the best modality. I'm like, I may do this modality now, but tomorrow I might be doing another modality. It's just, I know it's possible, whatever modality is in front of me. And that's what we're teaching right now. What you're teaching through, you have a couple different modalities, that it's simply possible. And some people, like, I've read books on people that overcame cancer without even, living a lifestyle that one thinks they need to live to overcome cancer.
Yeah. A quote unquote spiritual or metaphysical lifestyle. No,
something came to them, it hit, and they were pronounced that they wouldn't have cancer anymore, and they didn't buy into it. And 2 to 3 months later, they didn't have cancer, and they could not explain it other than the possibility was there. Some of us need modalities because modalities they're a gift. Because without a modality, you have no story, right? That's how I look at it.
Yeah, it's all experience.
Yeah, it's an experience. So
that's what we are, storytellers.
Yeah.
That's what this whole experience is.
Well,
one big ass story.
Well, yeah, the experience has to happen in order for the story to continue, and simultaneously it works the same way, because usually I tell the story and then I watch it play out. And I'm like, damn, I should have changed that character.
Didn't like playing
like, oh my God, it's going to get me in trouble. That's the fun of it, though. Yeah.
So, yeah. And then you also touched on this briefly, Morgan, but just how important you mentioned you just need one little atom that believes. And that's the secret, is there needs to be some belief. You have to be buying in, because I don't care, if there's a head chatter saying this will never work for me, there's nothing, to this, etc. That's what you're going to experience. That is your belief. And that's what you're projecting. Therefore you're creating. That's why law of attraction, law of assumption, all these different concepts are always working. We're just not taught this. And so we're like, see, this didn't work. This didn't happen. And we're like, yeah,
totally.
We get it. But like, that's proof that this is working. Look at where look at where you're projecting. And so that's something we also like to touch on. So it's cool hearing you say, I just need a little bit of belief, because like how I heard what you were just describing is that little bit of belief, your energy, your state, you're kind of like here, and you're bringing that little bit of belief up to like like they're vibrationally matching you, and they just need to buy in just enough to kind of feel that. And then from there, it is a state of feeling. It's like a knowing, when you're in this zone or in this flow, etc. And so it's cool hearing you touch on that. Can you go a little bit more into like the power of belief, and how do you share that with your clients?
Oh my gosh. I love working with clients. Usually before a past life regression session, and then multiple afterwards, because to really, like, honestly, quantum leap, going back to that belief, I get them to, show me what do you believe in? What do you believe is possible? And we step into that frequency, and we'll take it for a spin in hypnosis. So it's almost, it's visualization again. It's imagination. And we're taking that belief of, I believe I can, get this dream job. And then so you take a day in the life of that dream job where you just got it, and you're getting in your car and you're driving to the new office or whatever it is. And you're trying it on. And so by trying it on, you get to tell the body, chill, it's all good. This is all good. We love this. In fact, we really love this. And then everything starts to kind of get on board. So you got the conscious mind going, hey, this isn't so bad. This isn't scary at all, because it doesn't know that it's not actually occurring. The body doesn't actually know that it's not really occurring. We're playing in interdimensional lives, really. And so they come back and they're like, okay, I've got that. So we've magnified that belief a bit. And then I'll usually have them go out in the real world and step into that and take an action and see what happens. And then they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. So now they believe in themselves. So they've bought in. They are in. They get it. They see why I believed in them from the very get-go, and they proved it to themselves. And so that is what is so important, is that we see, yes, I can make an impact. And yes, I can make changes quickly, rapidly, instantaneously sometimes, just by shifting what we believe is possible. And just having another person like bounce that back and forth and like, hell yeah, you can do this. Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Well, speaking of instantaneous, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of instantaneous, like you mentioned, well, is that what quantum healing hypnosis technique is? QHHT? Is that instantaneous? Is that what you mean by quantum? Can you explain a little bit of that?
I would say if I could like tap into Dolores, she absolutely believed in interdimensional lives and realities. And she was very adamant about the possibility of miracles to occur instantaneously. She had seen them before her own eyes. She had told us tons of stories of a person who was supposed to get 2 knee replacements. Younger guy, maybe like in his 40s, something like that. They had a session and he showed up for his surgery, and the doctor's like, I don't know what the hell you just did, but you're not going to have surgery today. In fact, you're good.
Wow.
And I don't know what you did, and I don't want to know. Get out.
Get out of here.
Yep.
Well,
Get out of here.
Yeah, in science, that actually theory is called entanglement.
Okay.
So actually, just last year, right, the 3 scientists that won the Nobel Peace Prize to actually finalize the understanding, because even Einstein early on and 2 other physicists believed that entanglement or quantum mechanics was incomplete. They proved it was. And what that pretty much is when if you split an atom and a particle went this way, 10,000 light years, and 10,000 this way, doesn't matter how far apart they are. When one goes in one direction, the other one automatically in the same time changes. So we're all interconnected. We have the ability to shut out that connection, just like every cell phone on the planet is connected, but I don't have to answer your call.
Mm-hmm.
Once I start answering the call, everything shifts and changes instantaneously. There is no time travel like the speed of light. It's instant. And we just, they won the Nobel Peace Prize. So they're starting to study that more in the instant miracles that's happening. But when you get to that level of frequency, everything is different. So if I'm in the basement of a building and I take the elevator up to the 50th floor, everything in the 50th floor is different. So I'm no longer that body that was in the basement. So the doctor was expecting the basement kid to come in, but
right,
it was a kid on the 50th floor that didn't have a knee problem.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, it's very difficult to explain that. I'm just using it through analogy, but he is no longer that body that he once had. It's completely
instantaneous,
different, which is another form of incarnation.
Mm.
So we talk about people like, I don't believe in reincarnation or incarnation. I'm like, do you remember being 18? And I'm talking to somebody that's a lot older. I'm like, well, that body's no longer here. You incarnated into this body that is right in front of me. So that incarnation is happening moment by moment, day by day. And biologists say, okay, you have a different body every 7 years. Okay. Say you incarnate every 7 years of your life into a different body. You don't recognize it until you look at your photo. I'm like, damn, what happened? But then those are just fractals of what you're talking about, is the incarnations from past lives that aren't continuously fluid in memory.
Mm-hmm.
I have memory of when I was 18, not everything, but do I have a memory of a past life? Well, not clearly if I try to pull up, but if I go into a session with Morgan, I would. But these are just fractal understandings of how we live. So when you examine this world, it's almost difficult to say this is not possible. If you truly examine, there's nowhere to go. We are that thing in which we're experiencing it. we are already that. We are the witnesser to this experience. I don't care who you are. You can go and dig a hole, keep digging it, but you're just going to be in the same place with the shovel. You're the person holding the shovel. What is it that you're looking for? I don't know. It's something out there. I'm like, it's not out there. It's in with it. It's within.
Yeah.
Totally.
But then the outward expression becomes fun, brilliant, not
when you start working in tandem with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you understand it that you're, well,
because otherwise it can seem real scary.
Say you were in a, say we're in a room with a beam of light coming in, right? And it's just a beam of light. And all of a sudden you put your hand up and the light ran through your hand and the hand started going like this. And you're looking at the reflection and all of a sudden you start running for the door because you see a creepy monster coming in. You don't realize it's your hand. Your hand reflection that you're running from. It's your own reflection you're running from. So when you become aware of it, we are. So if I look at like, I'm having a discussion with Karen, it's not going well. I'm like, shit, but I have to go back and reflect into me. It's like, why I started down this road and she's looking at me sideways. Like, you really want to go there? And I'm like, yeah, this is not working, is it? But like, you almost want to blame the other person. I'm like, you can't. I created the script. I created the scenario. And it's like, people are like, well, they had blame too. I'm like, no, I'm the director of both the characters in that setting. That's how I look at it. Cause that's the only responsibility I can have. I'm not taking over Karen's
responsibility.
Control, but my
that
responsibility is
huge.
only mine. So I could go in and then when someone acts a certain way, I could be the character that doesn't respond that way. And all of a sudden I watch the world change. It's like, it's fun. It's amazing.
Belief, responsibility. Yeah. So if they believe it, then the next step is that you have to take responsibility over your own attachments to outcomes, to projections. All of that causes one suffering. And so I love using Buddhist concepts and philosophies because that's channeled material from incredibly divine, enlightened being. But I think exactly what you're talking about, Frank, that notion of my responsibility. So when people say that they have all these problems, if they come to me and all I hear is that they're this victim, we can't go anywhere until they at least say, here's one thing that I can do to change what's going on. Maybe not outside, but at least in here.
Yeah.
And then we can move.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. But I imagine too, it's kind of like even the fun of having the show. When anyone comes across you, I'm assuming this, and watching a show, they already cracked that door or window open. They wouldn't be anywhere near you if they didn't. So it's not like you have to sell them. Like, hey, when you walk onto a car lot, the car dealer knows you want to buy a car. Right? Is he gonna now? You're not there to sell them the rusty undercoating. That's because that's there's no integrity in that. But all of a sudden, you don't have to do that. They're on the deal. Say, hey, I'll be in the office when you're ready. Come see me. And that's the brilliance of this work. You don't chase people down. They find you. And when they find you, all you need is a crack in the door, a crack in the window, and you just, a little bit of light illuminates the whole room. It's amazing. You close the door, you can't see a damn thing. You crack it open, now you can see. And then it's like, okay, let's see how far open we can get this door or window. And they're the ones pulling it up, opening it, however you want to look at it. But you're the practitioner actually guiding them, saying it's safe, it's fun. Light won't burn you like,
Totally.
Yeah.
One thing Frank used to say to me all the time, I remember when I first started sitting down and talking with Frank about these concepts was, I'd be like, oh, dude, thank you so much. This is great. You're really opening my eyes to stuff. And Frank would always say, I'm nothing but a reflection of you. This is you remembering. And, I am simply a reflection. This is how you are remembering, is through this experience that has manifested. And my God, did that like really click for me and like open my eyes. And I started to look at all the different situations that we are experiencing in life are simply that, it is a reflection of, whatever these underlying subconscious thoughts and beliefs are. And so I'm sure that's something that you explain to your clients, or when you're with them, like, do you kind of go over, hey, you're working through me, to experience your true self, if you will. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And I can even see it from my perspective. If I am doing my spiritual work and I'm waking up and I'm doing my Kundalini yoga every day and I'm, clearing out my field and I'm projecting the world that I want to see and be a part of, different types of clients come to me.
Yeah.
Very different. And they'll also come in waves, which is something I've also found really interesting. So if anyone listening has heard or has experienced something like that, I'd love to connect with you, because it's very interesting how they will mirror back to me what I'm going through.
Well, that's just because when you mentioned the word waves, energy cannot be formed without a wave. Light is a wave. It's a crest and a trough. So it's
There we go. Now we got it.
It's off, it's on, it's off. This is how we experience the physical world. So you're always going to experience a wave like a surfer.
Yeah.
You're always going to do that. And I think sometimes when you're on the crest of the wave, you want to think, I want to be there. I'm like, no, because you got to experience the trough as well. And it's the whole ride, the whole, like, you're a snowboarder or a ski. You snowboard or ski? Or
Snowboard.
All right. So
she listens to Operation Ida, dude. She's definitely a snowboarder.
I've got skis too, man. I'll rip skis. No, I don't rip skis anymore.
But yeah, the going up on the gondola or the ski lift is just as enjoyable as starting the first foot onto the hill. All of it is part and parcel. We think, because if you could just click your fingers and be on that mountain continuously going down, that is what life feels like. That's called the treadmill life. We don't like that. We like the whole process. And sometimes the ride down the hill is a lot shorter than the whole process of getting there, but who cares? It's when you enjoy every bit of the process. And sometimes enjoying the process is like, I'm freezing as I'm going up this mountain, but I know once I hit that slope, I'm going to be sweating because my body's. So you deal with the freezing cold and you actually some oddly way enjoy it. When you start to enjoy the whole process, because if you don't enjoy the whole wave, you want out of this game, but this game is a wave. Well, there's no way out of it.
I feel like what you're talking about, like most people, you'll always hear like time heals all wounds and all these like very, the ideas and, concepts, throughout life sayings. But like what people reach this level of maturity when they realize that it's like a pendulum, or in this case, a wave. Like it's people want to stay at the top of that wave just like the entire time. Yep, I'm great. And if anything shakes, the world falls apart. And now I need antidepressants. I need this, etc. My world's crumbling. We're not like taught that it is a give and take. It is this pendulum. It is this wave. And I feel like that's important for people to really wrap their heads around, because we're all trying to get to this like state of nothing shakes me, everything, is perfect at all times. And we live in a duality type experience. And so it's a constant remembering, it's a constant learning. It's
we're actually experiencing duality, but we're non-duality watching duality
as awareness.
Yeah, as awareness.
Yeah.
So, but you get caught up in it. It's like watching a great movie, and all of a sudden you're on the edge of your seat. You realize you're in a theater watching my film. Like, but that's the fun of life. But we are experiencing duality, but we really are non-duality. We're a single entity.
And this is where you learn to love those experiences.
Yeah, so you're not caught in it.
Well, now like when I have what I would consider like not the high points, but the low points, I try to love those. And I'm like, no, I need to learn to appreciate this. I need to have gratitude for this, and gratitude in knowing like, the pendulum is gonna swing, and I'm gonna be right back up, in cloud 9. And it's like it's that level of awareness, like we're talking about, that allows you to still appreciate or still love. In my opinion, it's love the painful things in life, or the hard things in life. The times when people are usually like ready to give up or go grab the bottle or whatever, drugs, this, all that. Like, no. Those are the times that we need to also give thanks for and have gratitude for. And it's really hard to do that when you're in the midst of it. But I find like oh my God, like when it like amplifies the swing too. Like it's even bigger of a wave that next time things begin to ride.
Yeah, but then like, cause correct me if I'm wrong, with Buddha found out that when you look at the wave, everyone looks at the wave, a part of the wave as being the better part, and they'll put up with the worst part. That's not what we ought to be
You
doing.
need to love it.
Doesn't matter where the pendulum is, you should actually be just as excited. Winter, spring, summer, and fall all happen. But why do you choose a season as your best? This is where torture comes in. This is where, but I'm aware of winter. I'm aware. I'm not trying to think it's warm. I'm not trying to think it's warm in the middle of winter. But why is winter better than summer? It's a belief we bought into. And then we
Totally.
agonize for the next 3 seasons until I see. And then when our season comes, we agonize for that because it's going to end. So whenever
Totally.
That's the story.
why bother surfing if I only have to fall off the board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But-
that's the where we find ourselves in that weird twist and turn and tuggle.
Yeah,
you know?
but we realize I'm like, this is just all of it's good. It's all good. It's all good.
It is all good.
Question for
Kind
you.
of going. Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
No, you please.
I love that you brought up the fact that you're basically training your mind to be, to have a growth mindset by appreciating even the lows. And neuroscience is even saying now that, let's say, for adrenaline junkies, so a lot of people here in Park City, they work hard, they play harder. And you can get wrapped up in kind of this cycle of dopamine chasing, where I know that today is an epic powder day. Tomorrow is going to be an epic powder day too. Wednesday's, I mean, it's been a great year. Wednesday's going to be a great powder day too. Come Thursday, I'm going to be way blown out, and I'm going to feel a massive dip in my overall mood because I've reached those epic highs, and you can't maintain that. The body needs to find that equilibrium again, and it takes time to kind of build that up. But for those that don't know that or are looking to build a growth mindset, they feel that low and they think, my world sucks.
Yeah.
I'm depressed.
Or it's
I'm
over.
going to the bar.
But that's what the fireplace is for, right? You go into the chalet and sit near the fire and have a drink.
Get
But
some
seriously,
fondue.
you gotta find the enjoyment of it.
Everything.
You're so right, Morgan. Like that's it. You know, you hit that low after the high and you're like, oh, I lost it. And it's like, no, you didn't lose anything.
But what's interesting is when we were children, we never fretted over the down. Like the first thing you realize is movement was a swing.
So present.
Yeah, the swing, whether you were going up or down or walked or got off of it, there was you felt the difference in energy, but you didn't label it as good or bad, or, you really didn't label it until people started acknowledging, hey, you're happy, you must be good. Why the frown on your face? It must be bad. And the frown might have just been a relaxation of my face. Like, you look upset, like, no, that's that. Leave me alone. Yeah.
But you're right. We learn good or bad. We're taught good or bad.
Yes. We were taught if you feel this way, it's good. So here's come caffeine. And if you feel this way, there must be something wrong with you. So let's alleviate that with some other chemical compound. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. My body has its own chemistry.
But that's why we're
doing.
All walking around so damn neurotic is we're like, I'm not okay. I'm not good. I'm bad. Those are the constant neural pathways firing in our brain. We're just sitting there being like choking ourselves out that there's something wrong with me. Yeah. And we have to have the level of awareness, to say there is nothing wrong with me. And that's why prescriptions for, anxiety and depression are through the roof, especially in the last 5 years, et cetera. Everybody, because we've got screens all day, go, oh, I feel that there's something wrong with me. There is something wrong. And it's taking advantage of us not knowing how our instrument works. And that's what stinks, is we've never been taught how this instrument that we call a body works. So we're all walking around thinking we're, excuse me, this separate person, and this identity that is our body, and it can be further from the truth. No, this is an instrument, and we're the conscious awareness, navigating through this instrument. And if we were kind of taught that, it would make it would produce a lot less sales for a lot of different companies.
Yeah.
I must give a shout out though to pharmaceutical drugs, because sometimes they can do great things for people, even if it's just giving them the opportunity to take a breath when they've felt submerged for so long, just to have, like, let's say a part of the executive function in the prefrontal lobe fire. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, just even that little breath, and then you can start to build those practices. And that's kind of my own personal story with antidepressants.
That's a great point.
And the great point, because I'll say this, and some people probably think it's wacky, but what's the difference between Zoloft and meditation? They're both permission slips. So when people are on medication, I need to get, I'm like, you don't need to get off of it. But if you supplement another practice that won't hurt your liver in the way we were taught, because the truth is, I know people out there like obviously Maharishi had consumed a lot of LSD once, and it didn't affect him,
right?
Because he was already there. So you can drink, you could smoke, and I'm not encouraging this because there's so much information out there against it. So unless your belief can wrap around it, because your subconscious is running your life, but empirically, there's no difference. And but because you believe it's bad for you and you want to get off it, okay, fine, take it. But do this modality along with it, and watch, your doctor's going to tell you, let's cut you back. So to trade one for the other and say one's better is is grossly mistaken. Because
I think they're just all lessons.
Yes, exactly.
And they're all experiences, and we're just here to experience. If you're not experiencing, then you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
You need to get out.
Yeah.
And we can't label everything as bad or good, because again, that's us. And if that's the necessary medium at that time, it's going to appear as that, and you got to roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
totally. Totally.
Yeah.
So the question I was going to ask you, Morgan, is what is a Hypnofit practitioner? Because I didn't know what that was.
Okay, so that was
you don't have to work out.
Well, I was gonna say, is that some sort of like exercise related?
Like, shit, I don't need to go to the gym.
So it originated for that very same thing. So it's a modality that Eleni, shoot, I am so sorry, I'm forgetting your last name right now. A woman out of Australia.
Okay. Eleni's a pretty uncommon name, so if anybody's trying to find it, we should be able to.
I'll send it over so you can put in the show notes. But it's out of Australia, really powerful process-based kind of like a traditional 6 to 12 session process. And Hypnofit, I think, is really cool because we address the levels of emotions as they are the from most powerful to least impacting. So oftentimes we're going to start with anger. And if we can utilize timeline regression, so that's where we basically leave our bodies, we're just visualizing, hover over our timeline, and we can see it however we like. We can go back into our life to the very first time that we experienced anger. And from that perspective, that high up perspective, we see with different eyes. We see with a completely new lens. And I'm certain you guys are like starting to pick up the similarity of what we're doing in all of these sessions. While you're looking down, you can see and reveal the lessons. What did you learn from that experience? No good or no bad. The experience is the lesson. And how did that make you who you are today? Maybe you learned, you got to see the worst in a human being, and that human being could have been your parent. Wow. that's a lesson that not everyone experiences. That, think of all the ways that has impacted my life. And then we can go through, basically you'd go back and forth and until you learned all the lessons that anger wanted to show you, until there's no more anger, until you can get back into that, let's say, little child, and through the child's eyes, do you feel any more anger? And we don't stop until, like, no, I see my mom as just a human being who did her very best given with what she had. She was, let's say, raised by an alcoholic, and she was an alcoholic. Like, that's all she knew.
So that's the
So that's Hypnofit.
Yeah, that's the very essence of the work, because prior to this type of modalities and other ones, we were teaching people how to change the outside world. Get away from your mom, or lock your mom up,
right?
Or your mom. I'm like, well, that's not going to help the child that was first angered by the mom. So all of a sudden, when you go inward and you change the inward feeling, all of a sudden the outside world looks beautiful, regardless of how it's painted. And that's what real art is. It's interpretation. And that's what we're living. We're all artists, and our life, our experience is our artwork. We would not want to change any stroke of the brush on that. But when you recognize, well, without that stroke, this stroke, and that stroke, and all of a sudden every stroke was necessary. Yeah.
Morgan, how do you look at time? Can you give us a brief synopsis of how you look at of how you view time? I like to ask these types of questions.
I'm sorry, I'm goofy as hell. Mike's like,
I'm just moving.
Well, it's
I just keep moving.
Like, do you need a watch?
So how do you kind of like describe time? Because we're taught this concept of time, in the Western world, and it's very different from what, exactly exists. How do you kind of view time?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is we all look damn good for being on this tiny blue ball flying at thousands of miles an hour into the universe every single day. So everyone, you're looking great. I have a funny relationship with time, because I feel like time will speed up and slow down. And then I realize that's a construct that I was like given.
Yeah.
That, if it sped up, then I was probably in a flow. I was in, a pure flow state. I had no concept of time. Concept of time didn't even matter. Like this wonderful conversation, like we've been flowing.
Yeah.
And that's just so important that people let go of time.
Well, that's it. And like the reason I kind of bring that up to you is like, I'm a big believer that when people start to do these like hypnotherapy sessions and things like that, they can heal stuff in the past. They can heal past lives. They can heal future lives, all in this moment. And have you ever experienced anything like that, where people are literally healing, past, present, future life? And I'm talking like totally different incarnations too.
Wow. I would say, have I? I mean, yes, they're definitely impacting, because any sort of change is going to ripple throughout all of the different dimensions. So it's all, it's impacting me, it's impacting you, it's impacting the planet. Like, we're all so connected that it's rippling out throughout everything. But I've definitely seen, especially when it comes to like lineage type of healing, that if, let's say, I'm the daughter, I do the healing, it would not be uncommon to see the mother also experience a shift, or the best friend, or the sister, and then the dad. Like, very much see us all becoming impacted.
Yeah.
And that goes right back to empowerment. Like, you make a difference. If you're listening to this, remember, you make an impact on everything.
Well, that's what Gandhi said: become the change which you want to see. And he said it in a blank statement, but it literally affects everyone around you. But protesting against something can, some people could get on your side, some people could get aggravated by it, but we're all interconnected. So when I changed my biochemistry and how the science measures it, I literally changed my lineage's biochemistry.
Exactly.
So if if you have a child, if you have a parent that you feel needs to change, lecturing to them isn't going to do it. But you change, you're connected to some frequency waves, if radio waves. You change, they change as well. Because when I've changed, when I've woken up, how do I know my mom wasn't meditating or praying or whatever, and it hit me? I'm not taking the responsibility here because it's not ours. I mean, I'm not taking the credit, I should say. Something is magical in the world, and when I'm receptive to it, the more I open my heart and mind, I receive all this information that's like to what I'm at. If I'm closed, I get that. If I'm open, I get this. If I'm open, no closed ideas are coming in. That is the law. What you put out is what you get back. The law of attraction. Yeah.
I love that. I love bringing that up.
So cool.
Because there's so much healing that can come, when it's coming from, like Frank was just talking about, within. And like we'll try to talk to friends or family, right? We see them struggling, and we'll try to go to them and almost like a preachy way, like, oh, you got to do this, oh, it's this. And it's so funny because as soon as I learned to take a step back from that, and then I just began to picture people already in that state, oh my God, it was like leaps,
That's so cool.
Progress for them. Well, I started doing this with with my family because, I'm a big believer of like Neville Goddard, etc. And so I'm sitting here, why am I trying to, push a concept onto my brother, or, tell him, hey, you just got to listen to this, and this is going to help you. And I'm pushing against this reality. I need to take a step back, and I need to just see my brother already in that state, or see my mother or father already in that state. And oh my God, I've seen some very cool things happen, from that perspective.
And simultaneously, your brother was teaching you.
100%.
So
Absolutely.
it goes both directions. That's
so weird.
Oh, wow, it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
The house of mirrors,
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Everyone's a spiritual teacher. How you round it up. But it's our awareness to that helps us to develop it at a deeper, more higher level.
It's like the
greater level.
It's the conditioning, everything we've gone since school. We're taught that there's hierarchies. We're taught that you're handed a certificate that says you've now graduated. So now everybody out, when we go into this working world, we feel like we're not something until we're told we're something, or provided a certificate that says we're something from something outside of us. When 70, 80 years ago, this country was built off of people with less than a high school education. And they didn't need to be told that they were certified or told that they're something. They just became it and started doing it. Yeah. And that's the thing. We've been sold on this idea that, no, you're not something until the outside world gives you permission to be that. And there couldn't be more bullshit than that. You know what I mean?
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
We think like
that's been deeply ingrained in my generation.
100%.
Go to college, go to college, go to college, go to college. Come out.
That was me.
Economy crashed. No jobs. Yep. What did my friends do? Bartending, serving, Peace Corps, or go back to school. It's safe there.
Yeah, and that you were lucky if your parents had enough money to go back to school, or whatever that might be, or whatever it is. But it's just crazy because we have been taught to live in this society where it's like, hold on, you're not something until the outside world says so, and that's really what we've been conditioned heavily on. Whereas, back in the day, the people building, this industrial revolution and all that with a friggin' 3rd, 4th grade, 5th grade education, were like, no, I can do this, and I am this. And they became that. And there wasn't,
I'm an engineer.
you know, that Thomas Edison wasn't like, oh, I went to school. No, he created whatever, you know, the light bulb. And like, that's what's so nuts is we've just been kind of brainwashed. And we're told we're not something until we get something outside of us. And we thought we got to do A, B, C, and D in order to accomplish, you know, or get to this point. And we can literally start living as that vision, as that person, this moment. We don't need some slip of paper or something that tells us we're this. And that's something I always try to remind people because that's how you take your power back.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. It can be really hard.
It is.
When you've
Especially
got
the culture we
in
live
your head all these things, all of these experiences throughout your entire life where your brain is like, no, no, no. I remember first grade, that kid said you were stupid. And then third grade, the teacher said you were stupid. And then fourth grade, and then your parents said you were stupid. I am so stupid. And it's like so deeply ingrained. And the brain has all of these examples to show you just how true that is.
Yep.
And going back to you choosing to then focus on the positive and retraining your brain to actually look for the positive and to look for the good. Because if we don't train our mind, we will only become more and more cynical and negative and
that's
just
what
crotchety.
90% of the world is.
But inherently, every human being knows there's something wrong. And I use this analogy all the time from the stuff I was buying into, but really I wasn't buying into it, but it was kind of like weighted on my back. It's then when you wake up to it, it's like Ashton Kutcher coming out of the bushes and realize you've been punked.
Yeah.
So I laughed at it. I'm like, yeah, I knew something was up here. I knew this couldn't have been true. And when you realize that stuff I bought into then became my strength. So
it was the teacher.
It's not about getting rid of it for the next generation. It's about strengthening the next generation, because right now people are trying to get rid of bullying. I'm like, you can't. But you can get rid of the victim where the bully would have nothing to do. And by the way, the bully is the biggest victim of them all, because
the most insecure.
Yeah.
The most needing of love.
Yeah. So getting rid of the bully is like, it's getting rid of the victim as well. It doesn't work. But when you empower a person that does become victimized, they would never bully. So we've always put the cart in front of the horse. And when we start to put the horse in front of the cart, we're like, wow, what a smoother ride. Because the horse could push the cart. It will move, but not in a direction that it's so laborious, you wouldn't even want it. But when you put the horse in front and you sit on it, now the journey begins. And it's just beginning. It's not people like, oh, I'm finally here. I'm like, there's nowhere finally here. Now you're facing west. Just get more of it. Just keep going.
Wait until you lose a wheel.
Yeah. Now you're walking. Yeah. That's why whenever you see homesteads, they always have a wagon wheel out in front of their house. How they gained that was, that's like, why do you live here? That's still all the wagon can take me. This is my house.
Oh, man.
Yeah. You have a broken down car. Yeah, the car didn't go any far, so I bought the house. It's like, all right, it's a good way of looking at it.
We definitely live in a world now, though, that's very you got to be very careful of how you kind of explain these concepts and stuff, because like people out there will say, what do you mean, the bully's the biggest victim? Oh, come on, etc. Are we victim shaming? We live in this very twisted environment at times where people really are trying to drive home this point. No, you are a separate being. Look at this, look at this, what's happened to you in the past. We're not teaching people to let go. We're teaching people to get more and more analytical left brain. And what we're doing is we're literally creating matter. We're making these situations go from wave to particle. And we're saying that's real. And anything that, outside of that is not. And so it's a way of unlearning a lot of the garbage that we were taught growing up.
Now, Morgan, correct me if I'm wrong, but do you recognize people that come to you may have been a victim once, but they're ready to get rid of it? Because I hear a lot of people talk about everyone's claiming to be a victim, and I get that. I'm aware of it, just like I'm aware that it's 5 below somewhere on the planet, but I'm in Arizona. but I don't like, I could talk freely and I don't offend anybody, or at least they don't tell me, because we attract in that in which we think about all the time. So yeah, I might run into someone that once was a victim, but they're standing in front of me because I'm no longer a victim. Well, if I fall into it, I am momentarily. It's not that I don't, but I get out of it. So all of a sudden, I don't see that playing out in front of me. It's just hearsay to me. Just like Five Below is hearsay to me because it's like 70 degrees outside.
Yeah, that exists somewhere, but
I
not
know it
exists here.
exists. But when you hold that state, you don't experience it. So if the whole world hold that state, what would happen to that Five Below, so to speak?
Well, that's what we're shooting for.
So, and obviously, can you comment on that? Because I know that's people coming to you because it's something they're looking to let go of or find out about themselves.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
They've already, like you said earlier, like they've got their foot in the door. It's already cracked. Something is shifted in them to know that there is change possible. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes when they do come in, all they want to talk about, and which I encourage, is this story that they've told multiple people, or maybe they haven't told anybody before. You know, maybe they normally gloss over the hard, icky parts or whatnot. But I think it's good to understand what story is in there, but to know that that's not the final story. And if you fight for your limitations, you can have them.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a victim, you can be a victim.
Yeah.
Totally.
But I've noticed the less I become a victim, the less those type of people.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So
definitely.
That's why when you hold the sacred ground, you invite people in to hold that sacred ground. That's how much power we actually have. So you're actually showing them what it's like not to be a victim when they step into your sanctuary, so to speak.
Totally.
Rather than
and they knew that they weren't a victim. And you can see, I mean, if I could, when I like to say, like, when I die, I want God to have like this epic highlight reel with like music and slow-mo of me like slashing powder and jumping off of cliffs on my bike and doing all this cool shit. And then like I want to be able to see the progression of the clients that I've seen and like who I'm attracting, because I'm totally a participant in all of this.
100%.
You're a
and whatever. Totally. So whatever they call me up on the phone, then it's like another layer that I get to look at. I'm like, okay, how did I attract this? What is this person here to teach me? And so it's a very beneficial back and forth type of situation.
Morgan, I loved how you said, these people come with these stories and they just want to talk about their stories. And I feel like that's one of the most empowering thing we can do for individuals listening, is that any problem, anything that you've got going on in your life, etc., you need to start to view it as a story, because what you're really doing is you're carrying a series of mental narratives, of a series of, information. In your mind, in your head, you are repeating it day after day. And you're saying, this is real. This is me. This happened to me. And for me, one of my biggest moments of growth over my journey was realizing, oh my God, I'm the one holding on to this story. No one else is. In fact, nobody else cares. And it was when I let go of that story, the emotional baggage, whatever you want to call it, cut that cord of, I don't need to constantly inform every person I meet about this past or this history or how I think I'm perceived. That was the most freeing thing for me, which I realized, oh my God, I'm creating a new story every time my heart beats. Any given moment is a new story. And the only person holding on to that, was me.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I love that. It's so crazy.
Yeah. And you're like, wow, I don't have to be this. And science backs us up, guys. Frank and I will talk about this all the time, but we think what, 60 to 70,000 thoughts each day. And if each day we're thinking 50 to 60,000 of the same thoughts, how can we expect our lives to change? And what those thoughts are a story. That's how I at least looked at it. And this allowed me to let go of that, where I started to say, hey, I'm going to change this story. What was I doing? I was just creating a new neural pathway, a new way for information to flow. Just like Morgan going down a mountain, right? We all have these thoughts, and they travel down this same track, this same path. And then, over time, that path, is well carved, and that's I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be anything. Nobody likes me, blah, 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 that we've told ourselves for 10, 15, 20 years. Well, as soon as Morgan starts carving a new path down the other side of the mountain, it feels weird. It's bumpy. It's not as defined, but it's starting. And that's that new, hey, I can do this. I am worthy. I am deserving. And more of that, the path gets easier and easier to travel. And so we feel kind of stupid at first when we're doing this, because that new path that we're carving is kind of bumpy, but it's in the persistence and the knowing. And this is where my analytical mind allowed me to, get over it and start those new networks, because now, I look at information, or I look at situations so differently, where before it was always the same thing, but that was just my mind used to traveling down the same path over and over. And when I switched to a new path of worthiness, deserving, etc., it was rocky. You feel stupid. I don't know if this works, all that. And what that is just simply that conscious mind coming to the surface saying, hey, I don't like this. I want to keep you safe. I want to keep you comfortable. Go back down this path. This is the path you were meant to travel. You're not good enough. You'll never amount to anything. And that's the constant little battle I feel like we're all stuck in.
Yeah, what's actually happening there though is when you're a snowboarder, right? You want a fresh powder day every time, because once there is a set groove in the snow, it's not as fun. So after doing it over and over, that's how the thoughts of I'm not good enough are produced. It's not really the thoughts creating the carve; it's the carve creating the thoughts in the brain. We're actually meant to live it every single day differently than the day before. So change has nothing to do with us. We perceive it, but if you're actually looking and not changing the carve, but the world is changing around you, that's when you think you're not good enough. Neuroplasticity is meant to start with a blanket every day, fresh powder every day, to where you can't even see where you rode yesterday. So that's what we become familiar with, not creating a new path, because that new path will become, I'm stupid, I'm worried, I'm this. It's having fresh snow every day, so to speak. And the bumpiness, that's what you really want as a snowboarder.
I've never looked at it from that perspective.
Yeah, that's how you really.
Yeah, neither have I. That was good.
You want this newness. We're always going into the unknown, and change is not our doing. We actually perceive it. And if you let go, like what's his name? Michael Singer talks about this. He just observes the world. He doesn't try to control it. He doesn't do anything. He's just an observer. And he has a magnificent life. It's not like he lives like a pauper, you know what I'm saying? It's because we think we're in control. We're not. We're in control of our perception, how we look at it, how we feel about it. But I want it to snow every day if I'm a snowboarder. I want a brand new wave, because I can't ride that if I'm a surfer. I can't ride that previous wave I did. And that's where the aggravation comes. You're looking for that wave. I'm like, my God, every wave is great. I want a new wave. And then all of a sudden, your neuroplasticity, and that's where you look at quantum physics. When you close your eyes, everything turns into a wave of possibility. And then when you focus, it turns into a particle. But now I want a new particle. So I have to go back to the wave, particle, wave, particle. Rather than say particle, 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 particle. All of a sudden, you're a hoarder of particles.
Then your house is dusty.
Yeah,
with your skin particles.
Yeah. And, and your mood's going to change when you snowboard, and it'll be different than the day before and all these things. But it's like, why is my mood bad today? Who cares? It's not bad. It's just different. Allow it,
Yeah.
Whether you're snowboarding down the mountain or sitting in front of the fireplace, it should all be good. Yeah, one's going to feel different. We know that. I'm not trying to convince anybody it's the same. But it's a broader way of looking at it, that we want to head into the unknown, because that's all we really came here to do, not repetition. because you can't repeat. I'm sorry, it doesn't work.
Every day.
You can never go down the same mountain twice because it's a different mountain. But if I think it's the same mountain, this is where I get aggravated. It changed. It's already changed. So wow.
That made me think of for those that may be dealing with their life story and maybe it's hard for them to kind of let that go. Something to keep in mind is that about half of our memories aren't even real.
50%.
So,
Yeah.
if you need a little bit more encouragement to like push off the shore,
I tried
and
that
like
argument with Karen, but she doesn't buy into it.
No, this is they ran
Karen's
studies
right.
on this. You're right. They ran studies on this. Like 50% of our actual memories are false. So that guy,
Totally.
who thought high school was so awesome and I was the shit in high school. About 50% of that's true, man. Because that's what we hold on to. This is why the make America great again. All these different things. We're all looking to the past as if it was better back then. No, it was known back then. And now everything future is unknown. And we don't like moving into the unknown. And that's what this dynamic is.
It gives you a whole different look on the studying of history now, doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
Totally.
Who told the story, right?
Well, that's it.
Absolutely.
I'm going to write my own history book one day.
That would be a
Cool.
wild book.
It's going to start from 1967, though. There's no time prior to that, by the way.
Flat Earth.
Yeah.
I started the Earth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. The Snickers bar. That was it. That's all we're talking about. Hamburgers,
Me and my
hot dogs,
horse.
Snickers bars. Yeah.
Perfect starting point.
Yeah,
for
that's it.
the world history.
You don't need to know anything else.
Hey,
Don't ask questions.
Morgan, can people do sessions with you via Zoom, or do you only handle in person? Like for those listening right now, could people reach out to you and contact you for, like, if they're not in Utah? How does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Zoom sessions are awesome.
Nice.
Take, for example, if I were to ask you to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths, come back into the body. It's like I'm right there, right?
It is.
Yeah, that's good.
It is like that.
Without the jackhammer.
Yeah.
Hang on, I gotta go get it.
Well, we just talked about time and space. There's a concept of space and time and distance, but there really isn't any
Entanglement. You were talking about that earlier.
Well, right now, because there is no distance between anything. Everything's connected. We create this three-dimensional model, and we create this distance to the experience of it, but there really isn't any. That's why you can do this work. We're all connected. You're connected to my subconscious. I'm connected to your subconscious, and we don't have to be in the physical room.
Well, that's energy.
Totally.
Like at its finest.
Yeah, even before Zoom, I believe this gentleman got in trouble, but I think his name was John of God. He lived in Brazil. Was it Brazil?
Joan of God.
Yeah.
Or no. Oh, John of God. I'm so sorry. I was thinking of Joan of Arc.
Yeah,
Joan of Arc.
That's what I was thinking.
That was a whole different time. She was a beast.
Don't listen to me, anyone.
Yeah, I think his name was John of God, and he would heal people all around the world. And this was before Zoom. So people would write him letters, and Wayne Dyer did it with him, and he wrote him a letter and came back, and at the time it was when Wayne Dyer had cancer. So the guy told him on this time of day, take these pills and do this, and then Wayne Dyer claimed he was healed. The leukemia went away, or he never checked it. But this guy was in Brazil, and he was Wayne Dyer was probably living in Hawaii at the time. I think he was living in Maui. And it was just a written enveloped letter. Like kids like, what's that? It's not an email. I'm like, no, they actually mailed it. They dropped it off. But the energy came all the way from that, and and he was somewhere in, I think he was in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. And he was able to transfer that energy because he was just tapping into Wayne Dyer's subconscious. And that's what you're really doing. You're tapping into subconscious, and your subconscious, your higher self is saying, okay, what question do I ask this person? Which brings me back to, I want to do a session with you again.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
Yeah.
I have so many more tools and tricks in my bag.
It was cool that I did it the first time. I'm still learning.
That was,
Yeah.
I saw a mist in the room.
Yeah.
Do you remember me saying that?
I remember, yeah, I still have the recording somewhere because I remember you
Oh
sent me
my
the
gosh, I
recording.
bet I still have the recording. But
Yeah.
I saw like a thick white mist. And I'm like, he must have like incense or something going. But I couldn't figure it out. And after like an hour and a half, I'm like, okay, that's not incense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with it. And that stuff like that happens all the time. Like really bizarre, a question will come through that I have no idea what it's about. Uh, I have a really embarrassing story that I told on the last podcast, and I probably shouldn't repeat it again unless you guys really want me to.
I was gonna say,
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
you
do
have
it.
to.
I was gonna say, you can't.
Okay, now I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, you stepped over that.
Okay, so this was such a weird day. So I have this man in front of me, and I just feel like he's kind of beating around the bush a little bit. You know, you kind of see it in his body language and whatnot. And so I'm asking normal questions and what's his current challenges. And he's starting to tell me them. And I hear, ask him about ED.
Oh shit.
I'm like, what's ED? I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
I'm like, fine, whatever. Do you have
Give him a blue
ED?
pill.
And he's like, oh, dang. Oh my gosh, I was just about to tell you. Yes, that's why I'm here. I'm like,
Really?
I don't know what that is. It was
Oh,
so
shit.
embarrassing.
That
I
is
know.
so
It
funny,
was
but you
so
didn't have to
embarrassing.
say,
Oh,
what is
Hold
this?
on. To your credit, you're a female.
Yeah, that's
All right.
Yes.
You wouldn't, it's not something you would have to deal with unless you had a partner that had that problem, and then you would know about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So, how did that play out? Were you like, what is ED to him?
Yeah. Then I had to ask him. He's like, but you asked me. And I'm like, it just kind of came through.
Yeah.
You just got to go with it.
Great example of it.
That
yeah,
is
just
funny
coming
as
through.
hell.
You're
Yeah.
right. You know, like,
So
hey,
weird.
you can pick that up, but it doesn't mean logically like, oh,
Yeah.
what is that? That is a cool story.
See,
I
even
like
the
that.
subconscious talks you in cryptic, right? Because everything else has the ED. They can't just come out and actually say the full phrase of the word.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I would be like, I need a new therapist. Like,
Yeah.
what is going on in my head? Why am I thinking about that?
Yeah.
That's so that session probably turned out great, huh? I bet. I'm
It
sure
was awesome.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
because right then he
Amazing.
bought in. He was like, wait, what? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that come through because those
We're
are
really on the same wavelength.
Yep. Especially you feeling like,
So cool.
this guy's beating around the bush. You know, you knew there was something more that he was embarrassed or didn't want to talk about. Like, that is a great example story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been hard ever since.
Yeah, right. So at the
I can't help myself.
I was gonna say,
Child.
I was kind of waiting for it. I'm like,
Child.
I did kind of serve it up there for
Yeah.
you.
All right. Let's bring it back to the adult state.
bring it back to the adult state. All good. All good. So at the end of the day, what is your primary technique, Morgan, that you like to use with those who are listening? Because I like to bring that up too, just so we can leave people with, an idea of what you like to work on, things of that nature,
Cool.
because they can reach out.
Oh, totally. So I'm kind of working on my new formula of utilizing Kundalini yoga with hypnosis, with past life regression, with meditation. So I really feel like once I learned past life regression, I went back to school, did the clinical hypnotherapy program, wanted to learn everything about hypnosis. Then I started to incorporate some more of the spiritual work that is so deeply embedded into this. Bringing that kind of back in, and then having these yogic teachings and technologies to prime the body to be receptive for meditation is huge. Coming back into the body is huge. Experiencing intention with movement is something that, hypnosis alone just doesn't do. Like, it all needs to come together. So before I really decided that Kundalini yoga does fit with this, I saw meditation as kind of like conscious mind training, and then hypnosis as subconscious mind training. And the both really need to work together. I don't feel like you can do one without the other. You're not going to get the same benefits. It's all going to click when you get both. And they're so different, letting, which one come through and which one, kind of lay back a bit.
And what is Kundalini yoga?
So Kundalini yoga is the yoga for awakening. It's a householder practice. So it was developed for people that had kids, had jobs, weren't going to just spend their lives in caves. Yeah, this is like practical yogic practices from thousands and thousands of years ago, all from the Vedas, this ancient, again, channeled text that talks about Ayurveda and all of the healing.
It's like 5,000 years old.
Oh my gosh, it's epically old. Yeah. It talks about the chakras and all of this stuff that now science is starting to look at and go, wow, okay, we've got something here. Yeah. So really incorporating so back to Kundalini yoga, it's a very practical yoga. So it involves breath work, mantras, chanting, these basically what I would kind of think of as prayers in Sanskrit. And you're using sound and light to heal, to shift, to clear out energy, to clear out your arc line, to cleanse your energetic body. There's 10 subtle energies within the body, and so you can like purify and play with all different kinds. And so it wasn't until I really embodied what all of this meant. To me, I was just like, this yoga is just wacky and weird. And we're doing all these weird movements and chanting and wearing all white. And I just thought it was kooky. And I love the kook. I'll do it.
Yeah.
And then it clicked. And then I was able to reach these totally different states in meditation. And then things that I would be visualizing on my yoga mat, intentions on the yoga mat happening, where my Guru Jagat, who has since passed, I was watching Rama TV every day and doing yoga with her and some other practitioners. And there was this beautiful community of women doing Kundalini yoga every morning. And every day I was just like, oh, I can't wait to work with you. I can't wait to work with you. She found me on Instagram and had her assistant contact me and asked me to do hypnosis for the community, for a kind of like a online festival where we're activating the radiance within ourselves and using hypnosis. And it was just like, what?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Exactly. Like, and it happens. And I think oftentimes we're walking around like floating heads, right? We're just the thinking mind, but so much more occurs when we integrate the body too. And it's like, it magnifies everything.
Okay. So now say if I want to come to you, how does that, like, I remember doing the past life regression with you, and I remember the how we went and did it. I lay down, got comfortable. So adding all these in, what does it look like for the person that's going to be being worked on or working with you? What does that look like? How does a Kundalini come in? And then the past life regression hypnosis, how does that all fit in? What does a session actually look like?
So it kind of just depends on where we're starting.
Okay.
If they're coming with the intention, let's do past life regression, it's a great way to get started if they're totally open to it. So we could past life regression is usually made up into two parts. Mm-hmm. And currently I'm only doing QHHT, which means that I only see people in person for that. Soon I'll be able to offer remote past life regression sessions using a different type of modality called beyond quantum healing. So a lot of QHHT practitioners also go on to then take that course, and it involves like so much more other stuff that Dolores was totally all about. So if it's just past life regression, we would do the life story, where I basically sit, ask a few questions, and let you tell your story from the moment you were born all the way until where you are right now. And Dolores felt that that would create such an opportunity for healing to occur, even just hearing it out loud in one setting where nobody's interrupting you. Nobody's saying, oh, well, in my life, you're just being held and heard. That I found when I was doing my life story, so many things started to click, and the shift was already starting to happen on a conscious level. And then we would meet in person for those that are doing QHHT, and then I would get you nice and comfortable. We would go over your questions that you would like me to ask on your behalf to your higher self, and then we're off. And that experience is usually around 3 hours.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know. And then what's the best way for people to like look you up online? Are you on different social media platforms? I noticed you mentioned Instagram. Where are you, and what's your website? Where are some great avenues for
Gosh,
people
I am like glowing out here.
I know. I was going to say, it's your energy.
It's
You are
your
just
aura.
so light.
Yeah.
I'm so selling it.
Yeah.
It's snowing outside and the windows are open. So I'm so sorry, everyone.
Like a reflective.
You're getting white out.
Yeah, seriously.
So I'm on Instagram. I'm doing YouTube, Facebook. But honestly, the best way to just reach me is shoot me an email. Go to the website. Yeah. And
what's your email?
if you've email is morgan@morganlulu.com.
Okay, so people can go to morganlulu.com.
Yeah, and we'll put that on the show as well.
We'll put that across
so
the bottom
nice.
on the panel.
And I do live classes too on a really cool platform that features tons of other incredible healers, guides, yogis, wellness leaders. So I'll do live hypnosis kind of like classes where I'll guide people through, like, for example, this week we're doing creating healthy boundaries. So I'll do kind of a general hypnosis for people to experience. And then if they want to stay on after, then we can kind of do more of like a one-on-one in a group setting and kind of talk about, what has shifted. How do you feel now? Where, how do you feel? So it's a cool way to kind of be in that group setting. And I love that we're all intending for the same outcome. So when it's a big class, I know that
how powerful
epic stuff is happening. Yeah. Totally.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime I'm in a group meditation setting or anything of that nature, you can feel it just amplified, with everyone's different energy. And so it's cool to hear you say that.
Yeah.
You guys are so cool.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
today.
Oh my gosh,
so awesome.
that was so
We can't wait
fun.
to have you back on. Like this was truly a treat for us, and especially those listening in. Like that's what this perspective shift community is about. It's learning about all these different things and how they relate to one another, because we're all talking about the same thing. We're all pointing towards consciousness. And so it's just such a pleasure to hear your perspective today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
It was great seeing you too.
Oh, I love you both so very much. Both are brilliant, wonderful souls on this journey with me. So thank you.
We love it. We love it. Well, we're wishing you all the best. We'll put your information on the bottom of the screen so people who are tuning in can reach out.
Yep.
And then we'll circle back with you sooner or later, and we'll get you back.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about more weird stuff.
I love it.
That's all we do here on Perspective Shift.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Favorite show.
All right, Morgan.
We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Good luck.
Bye.